Hi there, I'm going to do a burn wrap up. So I'll be doing two separate videos and I'll tell you what about in a minute. All right, so let's start over here. There's 4 different types of burns. Of course there's like subsets, but we're gonna talk about the 4 main types. So there's a thermal burn, and that could be from fire, flash of flame, and then we have a chemical burn, which could be from acids, or usually it's a occupational hazard, or if you're working with, if you're a scientist, I guess, and working with different chemicals. Anytime you're working with the chemicals, you can have a chemical burn. Even hairstylists can have chemical burns from the dyes. Smoke inhalation, which is self-explanatory, and electrical. So that could be electrocution or being struck by lightning. So the way these are treated are a little bit different. The area of the burn can be a little bit different, but there's a lot of similarities. But let's talk about thermal. So if we have something, even if you like burn yourself on a stove, that's a thermal burn. So what's your immediate instinct is to go run it under cold water. So you can put like some cool compresses on it. So think cool. You don't want ice or cold, you just want cool, because that's going to help calm down the burn, because this you have to think it's hot burn. So you want to cool it off. Now chemical burns. So let's say that you are a hairstylist and the dye gets on your arm and it starts burning and bubbling up on your arm, and it's really hurting. What do you want to do? You want to get it off. So again, you're going to flush it. All right, so you want to flush this with as much water as possible. You want to get it off. So you have chemical burns, you want to get it off. If you have a thermal burn, you're going to put some compresses on it to calm it down. Now, smoke inhalation is a little bit different, because if you're inhaling, it's going in your airway. And so these people are going to probably need to be intubated, because you have to worry about airway edema. So airway is the most important with this. So these people most likely need an ET tube, because they probably have irritation and swelling and edema of their airways. Electrical burn. So whether you stick your finger in a light socket or be struck by lightning, how does our heart function? It's electrical. It pumps, but it's electrical. So that can throw off the electrical part of your heart if you're in contact with something else that's electrical. So this one you have to think cardiac. And if you're struck by lightning, actually, like if you're struck by lightning in your arm, you're just going to see like one dot here, and then it'll go out and exit in another area. So you'll need another dot. So it's really internal that you're having a lot of the issues. All right, so don't forget these on how you're going to immediately, things that have to come to your mind when you're treating. All right, now let's talk about the other types of burns, or the degree of burns. Now, there's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th degree burns, but I think what's important for you to realize the difference between partial thickness and full thickness. Because remember, we do know that 1st degree burns, it's just on a surface. So if I accidentally get burnt on my curling iron, which I did yesterday right here, that is just a superficial 1st degree burn. All right, where I did run it under cold water, I put some cold compress on it, and then it went away. Once it starts going through the subcutaneous tissue, it starts to become a partial thickness burn. You blister up, but once it gets to full thickness, you're actually down to the tendons and the muscle, and they're both can be dangerous. So you can, and again, it depends on the body surface area. So that's why I put the percentage of total body surface area. Because if you just have a partial thickness right here on your finger, but it's all the way down, yeah, it's more serious, but it's just here. So the likelihood of complications is much less as if I fall into something like a fire and have half my body, because then we have to start thinking about these right here. If I get a burn on my finger, I'm not going to go into this emergent phase, acute phase, really, or rehab phase. But if you have a percentage that's significant or a large body surface area, yes, you can go into this emergent phase. And so you always have to be thinking about what's happening. They come in through your ER. You know they have, let's say, a chemical burn. It's full thickness. You do the rule of nines, which I'm going to do on my next video to find out how much. Thinking emergent, what's going on? These people are losing fluid because what happens, this is a blood vessel and you have the fluid balance, but then you're burned, and so all that fluid starts leaving these cells here and they start going out. All right, so then you become internally dehydrated, but then you have edema and you're all swollen. Your kidneys, because all your work is going somewhere else. Your kidneys aren't going to work as well. They're not going to excrete any urine that's going to go down. So that's why it's so important to be giving fluids during this phase to compensate for the increase in capillary permeability. So make sure you read over that so you can understand. The other thing, if you see a full thickness burn, this is going to be like tan looking. I've seen it before. I've seen a guy that came in, was having an amputation of his hand because he was drunk one night and walking in the coldest day of the year, and he ended up with frostbite, and it was basically, by the time I saw it, was black and it felt like a piece of hard wood. It looked like a tree. So it can be tan, it can be hard, for a full thickness burn. So just to let you know, these people are at risk for hypovolemic shock. So they need to be watched carefully. Fluid loss, because they're losing fluid, and then you need to watch the urine output. How much are we going to give in fluids? I'm going to do that on the next video and show you the Parkland formula, but that is how we give fluids. We calculate their weight and then we give them half over the first 8 hours and then the rest over the next 16 hours. So I'm going to do a little thing for that. Also, these people, especially here, infection. They are increased risk for infection. Think about that body surface area being exposed. So these people need to go on reverse isolation. Okay. Also understand what some complications are, and one of them is called a Curling's ulcer. So look that up. It's a Curling's ulcer, bleeding ulcer, and so I want you to look up why that happens in case of burns. And just a little hint, a sign of this could be bloody stools. Because if you have a bleeding ulcer, where is it going to go? It's going to go out in your stool, the blood. So that's a sign that they have a Curling's ulcer from the burn internally. All right, this phase is where they're starting to heal up, and this can take months. And then this page, they're fully healed. But remember, anybody, especially if their total body surface area is significant enough, they will probably have deficits for the rest of their life, but the goal is to get them to function optimally. Okay? As to the best of their ability. So they may not get back to baseline, they may get back to baseline. The goal is to just function at the highest level that they can function. All right, and that's it on this section.